All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL DFS video touching on the Week 7 lineup builder here, talking about all the favorite fades, values, stacks, and just kind of closing thoughts for this week. Let's go ahead and get into it. So for those of you that might be new to the channel, I typically like to start out with kind of just a preview of which games we want to be, potentially stacking. And that's going to be based off of the games that are going to be both closest and the highest scoring. And we're going to see, just looking at the games, we really are getting one good game, and that's not even on the mains. Okay, that'd be Philly versus Miami. We'll be touching about that game in a separate video. So this slate is pretty wide open in terms of where you could potentially go yourself. I will say I'm pretty intrigued by the Green Bay Packers Denver Broncos game. I think that has a lot of stackability to it. A lot of people are going to be chasing the Chargers Chiefs game. We have seen a lot of weird kind of fluky games between them. I also do like the Arizona Cardinals Seattle Seahawks game. I think that has a lot of stackability to it as well. So at least we do have some good options, although it isn't as sexy as some of the other slates that we have had. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and target, some really good potential stacks that we could be on. And I do think starting out with Cleveland is kind of an interesting spot. So Deshaun Watson, if he is back, this is not a terrible stacking opportunity. I will say a little bit of appeal to PJ Walker. Like, I don't know if you guys are someone that runs out 20 lineups, maybe 2 with him. If you guys are someone that does 150, still nothing crazy, maybe like 15, just because I do think there is some sort of likelihood where, maybe he rushes for a touchdown, maybe he throws for a touchdown. This defense, the Colts defense, is going to be really the reason as to why. And also another reason as to why is because we can get Amari Cooper at a pretty cheap price tag. To me, that's kind of a low risk, high reward type of stack. Obviously, we're not hoping for too much out of that. Then from there, we did get news that Daniel Jones is probably going to sit in this game. So because of that, I don't mind the idea of rolling with Tyrod Taylor, who probably had the best game for New York Giants quarterback last week against Buffalo, who's a pretty tough defense. Now he gets a good matchup against Washington, who has been very defeatable via the passing game. You could then pair him up very cheaply with Wendell Robinson, possibly even Saquon Barkley. We know that he gets used in the passing game. And then if you want to go with Darren Waller, you could as well. I think he's a little bit too priced up to do that, though. Then from there, the game that I kind of like the most in terms of like just pure stacking ability is actually just going to be looking at the Rams. Really, the Rams, I fully expect to pass the football a heavy amount. Like literally, I think it'll be this game, the San Francisco game, where they threw the ball 55 times or at least 40 times in this game. That's going to be due to their top 2 running backs being on the IR. They're going to be forced to go with Royce Freeman, potentially Zach Evans, or even Darrell Henderson. Okay. We don't know which one it's going to be based off of like Sean McVay's comments. I'm kind of sort of thinking that he is going to default to just throwing the football a ton. I think we actually might see someone like Tutu Atwell being involved kind of in the backfield, being used in a unique way. So, the nice part about the Rams is basically all the players that are starting are playing 80% of the snaps. So you could literally just go Cooper Kupp, who's been playing a lot. I think Puka Nacua is going to be in for a good game. He's someone that dropped a touchdown last week. And then Tutu Atwell. Now, he had a bad game last week. 2 weeks ago, he should have had a touchdown. Okay. And I just like the fact that McVay is still somewhat trying to find ways to get him the ball, and I think that will occur in this game as well. So, maybe a little bit too priced up for all these players than we would like, but I do think that there's a decent stacking ability there. You could potentially even run it back with someone like Deontay Johnson, who is currently very cheap as well, but he does get a tougher matchup. And that's the issue, guys, is that all the appealing games really on the slate are going to be this afternoon slate. Like this Arizona Cardinals Seattle Seahawks game, very easy to stack. Like Kenneth Walker is going to be everyone's favorite play. I will say I do think Keontae Ingram is going to be much more involved. The question is, can the Cardinals keep it close enough for long enough? They are expected to lose by more than a touchdown in this game. Geno Smith is, I just got done doing the prop video. He is projected to get 2 passing touchdowns in this game. So if he does that, we can expect more close to maybe the game that he had against Detroit. Like he could be kind of the slate breaker that a lot of people don't want to be on, maybe in cash, which I definitely get, but we could also be on him in GPPs pretty heavily. Yeah, DK Metcalf there, obviously dealing with a little bit of an injury. He's expected to play. Tyler Lockett was also one of the better prop bets for over 12 fantasy points, actually. So he is someone that I expect to have a really good game. And then Marquise Brown to run it back. He should be targeted heavily. I mean, look at these games. Really, besides week 1 against Washington, he's been targeted 10, 7, 10, 10, and 11. And that does kind of coincide with Zach Ertz just not getting as much work. And they've kind of just defaulted to giving Marquise Brown the football a lot. You could then go with Trey McBride if you wanted to, who very cheap price tag for a guy that is kind of getting the starting tight end role. We saw 5 targets last week against the Rams. We also do have Michael Russell Wilson at a very cheap price tag to put into your flex. He is someone that I expect to get involved in this game as well. So we have a very easy way to stack this game. And if you look at one of the stacks that I told you guys to run out last week, it was the Miami-Carolina game. I saw that in a lot of GPP winning contests. Basically, the whole stack that I gave you guys, that was a part of a GPP winning stack. And that is something that's basically happened every single week except for week 5, giving out GPP winning advice. So I think that this could be that game. The only big issue that I had with stacking that game is that you literally would have too much salary left over if you try to stack it that way, because there's just so many like discounted plays in that game. Another game that I think could be sneaky good is going to be the Denver Green Bay game. You got Jordan Love at a cheap price tag. You got Russell Wilson at a cheap price tag. Both of those two are pretty underrated in terms of how they're priced, considering their consistent production that they've had. I like Jordan Love in this matchup. Aaron Jones is certainly going to be an intriguing play. If he plays, you expect him to go off, and I do think that he could easily get some big receiving play. So I do think that Jordan Love and Aaron Jones could coexist. Obviously, if we're running out stacks, we're chasing more GPP. So this is kind of a unique GPP stack that we could run out there. I will say Jaleel McLaughlin as well at his cheap price tag is going to be intriguing. Javonte Williams looked good, but so did Jaleel McLaughlin. He ended up playing the most snaps out of any, played 40% of the snaps last week. Samaje Perine was really not involved. The issue is that he's not getting a workhorse workload. What we like is that, he does have the big play upside. He could get, 15 fantasy points in this game. Is that enough at that price tag with some of that Rams value that's out there? Tough to say for sure. Looking at it for the Packers, it does feel like we would either be running out Christian Watson, who I love this week. I do want to caution against it. Like if you are running out the stack, run out two versions of it. One with Dobbs, one with Watson. Watson could get Patrick Surtain, who has been covering perimeter receivers pretty well. Now, I do think we're going to see Watson, motion a lot and whatnot to create good matchups. It's very Tyreek Hill light in that sense, where Watson is motioning a lot to create good matchups for himself. And if people wonder why he's been such a consistent fantasy producer, and it's that reason. LaFleur is moving him around the offense to create good matchups for him. Receiving wise, I don't mind Sutton. If you guys want to run it back with that, I'm fine with that. I do think the play is going to be Luke Musgrave at tight end. So, probably a little bit too Packers heavy here, but I feel like this is a pretty good setup there as well. Probably would include one of the running backs to run it back with. And then obviously this KC versus Chargers game is going to be appealing. You got Keenan Allen. You could easily play Joshua Palmer's at such a cheap price tag. And the nice thing about what's going on for the Chiefs is that they just traded for McCole Hardman. Is he active in this game? If he is, that I wouldn't like that, because right now I feel like Rice and Kadarius Toney are going to see a slight uptick in their playing time with Justin Watson currently out. We have seen the receivers basically all playing about 45% of the snaps. Now, don't get me wrong, we could see Sky Moore get some more work as well. This makes Keenan Allen very easy to click into our builds. That makes Travis Kelce very easy to click into our builds. Then we could easily just play Mahomes or Herbert, whichever one you want to go with. Heck, a lot of people are going to be on Isaiah Pacheco in this game, and we still have a decent amount of salary left over to really play whoever we want at the running back position. I shouldn't say that. We would have to make some sort of slight adjustment. Maybe go down from Rice to Sky Moore, although Rice has looked good. That'd be the move. I would say you go down to Sky Moore, then you can afford a cheap running back out. Now let's go ahead and get into my favorite values in week 7. And guys, I'm going to go ahead and start out at the tight end position, because we do have one clear-cut value. That's going to be the same value that I mentioned last week, who really was a play that I got on as the week progressed. Literally in this video, I'm like, this is kind of the clear-cut value play, and it ended up working out. Michael Mayer ended up getting 12 fantasy points, 12.5 fantasy points, and really was the source of value for my best lineup last week, which was nice. Gets a pretty good matchup this week against Chicago. Still too cheap. I feel like he is not only the top value play, but he's like a really good, strong anchor for your builds, just because he opens up a lot, and we expect him to get production. He played in 80% of the snaps last week. Cade On's not a terrible value. If you want to roll with him, I'd fine with that. A lot of people are going to be rolling with Trey McBride, as they should. Those are kind of the 3 clear-cut values that we are getting. But I think we know which value to go with the most. Receiver wise, just a reminder, I'm looking at players that are going to be under 4K for the receiver position. Starting out, we got Wendell Robinson, who really he is also someone that I kind of just view as a core play as well, just considering how much production he has gotten over the past few weeks. 8 targets against Buffalo, 6 and 6. He's just simply too cheap. He should be $1,000 more, and he's not. He's playing about 65% of the snaps, which sure, not elite, but you get him in a good matchup against Washington. I mentioned Tyrod Taylor. You're going to play play Tyrod Taylor with Wendell Robinson if you're doing that, or vice versa. I should say vice versa. You know, you could play Wendell Robinson with Tyrod Taylor. Other values include Michael Wilson. Mentioned he gets a really good matchup, playing about 80% of the snaps now. We saw him have one really good game against San Francisco. You know, in a very good matchup against Seattle, you do kind of expect him to have a good game. I like that price tag. Kadarius Toney, I do think he's going to continue to be involved as he has been. You know, 6 targets the last 2 games. Expect him to get closer to like 10 DraftKings points this week. You know, maybe finally bust up in a big play. Not something you're counting on, but something that could occur. Darius Slayton certainly in play as well. Just with Tyrod Taylor in there, we actually saw this offense kind of function like a normal offense. And I shouldn't say that, because it was more because Saquon Barkley's back. He is the biggest plus minus, it seems like, for a team in terms of production on their offense. He makes that offense go. He kind of justifies the contract with how bad they look without him. That is Saquon Barkley. Van Jefferson eventually is going to get more involved. I don't know if that's this week. Rondale Moore, Sky Moore, definitely 2 GPP plays that I don't mind. We got Juju at a cheap price tag, and I'm not touching him. I'm going to continue to hammer Demario Douglas home until it finally happens. Got a concussion in the last game, as did Juju. It seemed like Douglas was on his way to a good game. I still think he's going to be worth the look. I still think, you know, if you want to toss him to 5% of your builds, if you're max entering 150 lineups, I think that'd be a good route to go. Running back wise, let's talk about it, guys. We have a bunch of intriguing running back values under 5K. Let's start with, well, you got Jaleel McLaughlin right at 5K. Keontae Ingram, I do think he's going to take over as kind of the workhorse in that offense. You get him at a cheap price tag. Don't love the matchup, but certainly could have a good game. Same thing with Deonta Foreman. You know, could have a good game. Had 16 total opportunities. The issue with him is that Travis Homer is going to be back. And so if the Raiders are up and up fast in this game, which might occur with a rookie quarterback in Tyson Bagent, who I'll touch on in a second here, then it'd be more Travis Homer getting a lot of third down work, passing down situation work. Foreman had a lot of bursts. You know, a lot of the times we'll see running backs come in and look faster than really all the other players because it's the middle of the season, end of the season, and a running back will have fresh legs. That's kind of how it looked like with Deonta Foreman last week. Justice Hill, I feel like, is someone that's firmly just a decent GPP play in games where Baltimore could potentially be playing from behind, and that could occur against Detroit, who has looked pretty sharp. And then let's just talk about it. We got the Rams situation. So Darrell Henderson not going to be added to the play pool. He shouldn't be. So that really leaves us with Zach Evans or Royce Freeman. To me, it's going to be Royce Freeman. He was slightly better during the preseason. He's a little bit better of a blocker. You can use him on third down situations. And so for at least DraftKings, maybe on FanDuel, it probably doesn't matter. But I think Royce Freeman has the better touchdown upside, and he's just the more appealing player. It seems like Sean McVay is having a tough time trusting Zach Evans. And if there's one thing that Sean McVay cares about the most, it is that trust in his system that his players are going to do the right thing. But I also think that Royce Freeman is going to be on the field because he's just a good pass blocker, and we're going to see the Rams just throw the football a lot. I do think he's their best third down running back, so you could play him. He's kind of the one I'm rolling with the most, and he's going to be lower owned than Zach Evans. We look at the quarterback values this week. So looking at quarterbacks that are going to be under 5K. You got Brian Hoyer in a good matchup going against the Chicago Bears. I don't think we want to be playing Brian Hoyer, but at the same time, we have heard Devontae Adams' comments. He is ready to go. He wants to get involved. If Devontae Adams has a massive day, well, then it would mean that Brian Hoyer has a decent day as well. At 5K, we just need him to hit like 14.5 DraftKings points to really hit value for us or exceed value for us. I don't mind that. Not something I'm counting on. PJ Walker, someone that can rush the football. We're not counting on him to do much. And then Tyson Bagent, I do want to mention because I do feel like he is just Justin Fields. Like he is a more decisive Justin Fields. Now, he might not have as good of an arm. You could probably definitively say that there's a reason why, one, he is D2, and also why he was undrafted. And honestly, guys, I might have some bias here because I played D2 football. He played D2 football. I love that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's just fun to cheer for those guys. I'm a little bit more invested. I thought he looked fine, besides really his 2 glaring mistakes, which was a sloppy fumble where he's just trying to make a play. I mean, it was bad fumble. And then also pretty bad INT. I didn't think he looked bad. 10 for 14. He was able to get the ball to DJ Moore. And that's kind of more my takeaway, is that it might actually be a boost to the offense as a whole, like in terms of fantasy production. That's really where I'm basing the takeoff of, but I do expect him to struggle. I don't want to get that twisted. At the same time, if he has a good day rushing, like a Justin Fields day rushing, maybe not even that, 30 yards rushing and a touchdown, that wouldn't be shocking to me. And that would be enough at this price tag. So now just taking a peek at the ownerships that we have for this week, and I'm just going to sort it by obviously the main slate games. We'll look at who's pulling in the most ownership. Right now, Jahmyr Gibbs getting a bunch of ownership. That's a little bit strange to me. Kenneth Walker is going to be the player that I think will end up being the highest chalk. And then it could just be one data source pulling in Kenneth Walker, and I'll switch screens so you guys can see it better. And then another data source pulling in Kenneth Walker to the third, why it's not that high, just as an FYI there. But yeah, I don't know, guys. Like, I feel like it is Kenneth Walker, the easy play, and then it doesn't really matter. Like Aaron Jones, I kind of would rather be on, I think, given his upside. Pacheco, Jacobs, Gibbs, those plays all make sense. Like, very logical play. But do we need to be going out of our way to roster them at a high amount? I don't really think so. Like, I'll probably be underweight on those, and I do think that they all have a really good chance of hitting value. The issue is I feel like every play other than Kenneth Walker are basically the same play, and I'd almost rather go with Saquon Barkley because I do feel like that matchup's fine. I feel like they're going to be fine. Puka, that's probably correct. Day is telling us to fade him. Travis Kelce, slightly overowned. That's fine. Diggs, Cooper Kupp, I definitely want to be going in on Cooper Kupp. You can easily fit him into your builds this week. Tyler Lockett in a great spot. Christian Watson in a great spot. I want to be on those players, okay? I'm going to be on those players. You got someone like Jerome Ford, who, guys, Kareem Hunt currently questionable. If Kareem Hunt is out or limited, you are playing Jerome Ford. No questions. You are. Marquise Brown, I feel like he should be one of the highest players on the slate. That's a great leverage spot, I would say, because he is in a great matchup. He's been getting 10 plus targets per game. Be on him. Luke Musgrave in a good spot. But once again, Michael Mayer, the Raiders rookie tight end. Where is he pulling in here? He's not pulling in at all. Be on him. He's going to be a good play. Aaron Jones at sub 10%. I get it. At the same time, awesome. Wendell Robinson, sub 10%. I don't get that. He should be higher on the nice, like the clear-cut value play. So we are getting some very good spots. I will say Jonathan Taylor, kind of intriguing as well. We have seen the uptake in both production and snaps over the last 2 weeks. He is expected to see more work this game. He has been someone that was involved in the passing game as well. If he cuts into Zach Moss's playing time, which I think he will, this Colts offense has led to a lot of production to running backs, for running backs, I should say. Like Zach Moss, he's looked fun. I do think 2 weeks ago was his best game. He had a career game, obviously, but like he actually looked good 2 weeks ago, whereas the other weeks, it's like, man, I just wish Jonathan Taylor was in on some of these plays because they would have been big plays. That didn't actually happen last week. Both of them kind of had a tougher time, and this is a tough matchup, but at the same time, if he's going to be getting more work, that is, we're getting one of the best running backs in the league at 6.5. If he's going to workhorse workload, we do love that. Jordan Love, you guys know I'm going to be on him. Definitely overweight on this, probably by half, like I have been every single week thus far during the main slates. Jacoby Myers, I know he's priced up more, but he's definitely a safe play, so kind of interesting there as well. I want to go ahead and get into the lineup builder, and then I'll begin out of here. So I'm just going to be showing you guys here kind of what the optimal build is right now. I'm going to bump up Cooper Kupp's to 22 for a projection because we have to give this thing 2 data points to go off of. So just doing that. Then the other player that I want to be in on is going to be Kenneth Walker. I'll do 20 there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to settings, 3 unique players, flex an eligible tight end, 3 unique players, and then, I don't know, 45 max exposure. There we go. Generate, and it'll just show us what the optimal lineup is. And so here we go. Curtis Samuel. I don't know. I'd rather go Robinson there. I just would. Tutu Atwell pulling in there. I don't know. I'd rather go value at tight end, be able to pay up a little bit more at receiver. I agree with Brown. I agree with Kupp. Samuel's fine. Don't get me wrong. I just think there's better routes that we can go, but you guys kind of get the sense of where the best lineups are going to be. And here we go. Slightly better lineup. Once again, I'd rather go Robinson here, but I like this build. This is a very solid build right here. I would favor this one more than this one. That's going to be all for this video. If you guys want access to a lineup builder, is available at 9to5sports.com for just $10 a month. Thanks for watching, guys. Let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.